This is the syllabus of IIT JEE Mains and Advanced 2025. IIT stands for Indian Institute of Technology. JEE stands for Joint Entrance Examination. Once you clear the mains exam, then we are going for advanced for IIT. So, coming to chemistry, chemistry is the branch of science that studies the different types of structures, composition, properties, and making interactions and solutions. We are finding the characteristics of the each element and the periodic table, how it occupies in the table based on the characteristics. And in real life we are using chemistry as a prime subject. In everywhere you can find a number of contaminants in the water, soil, plastics, etc. So chemistry is divided into three parts: physical chemistry, inorganic chemistry, organic chemistry. So coming to physical chemistry, in real life how we are utilizing chemistry as a subject, and we can see the some basic concepts in chemistry: atomic structure and chemical bonding and molecular structure, chemical thermodynamics, solutions, equilibrium, redox reactions and electrochemistry, chemical kinetics. So these are the 8 units belongs to physical chemistry. Then without carbon, how the solutions made up of, and we are finding the properties, structure and the characterization of each element. So in this inorganic chemistry, there is no carbon involved in the solutions. So the concepts are classification of elements and periodicity in properties, and there are 4 types of block elements in the periodic table: S block and P block and D block and F block elements. And what are the coordination compounds in the inorganic chemistry. So remaining topics belongs to organic chemistry, which includes carbon as a prime factor to make solutions, properties, structures and various interactions and reactions of the solutions. So purification and characterization of organic compounds, some basic principles of organic chemistry: hydrocarbons, organic compounds containing halogens, organic compounds containing oxygen, organic compounds containing nitrogen, biomolecules, principles related to practical chemistry. So these are the 20 units of JEE main syllabus. Then coming to chemistry is the sub part of science that studies the composition, structure, properties and changes of matter, including the interactions and reactions between different chemical substances. That is called chemistry. There are so far all scientists has been identified 118 confined elements in the periodic table, ranging from hydrogen to and ending with the agonism. So that is the 118 elements presented in the periodic table. So who is the father of chemistry? Usually we can say it as Antoine Lavoisier, because he has given the beautiful definition of matter. So that's why he belongs to 18th century French chemist, and usually we can say it as a father of chemistry is Antoine Lavoisier. So we have already discussed about there are 3 types of chemistry: the study of carbon containing compounds and their properties, structures, reactions, interactions and structures. That is called organic chemistry. Here the carbon is prime factor. In organic chemistry, there is no carbon involved in the solutions, properties, reactions, structures. So the study of inorganic compounds which typically do not contain carbon hydrogen bonds, that is called inorganic chemistry. Physical chemistry, in real life it deals with the physical principles underlying chemical reactions and properties of matter. That is called physical chemistry. Then there are broadly classified into analytical chemistry. Here we are using methods and techniques for analyzing substances to determine their composition and concentration is called analytical chemistry. Then what about biochemistry? Biochemistry is study of chemical processes within the related to living organisms. Anything living organisms we are discussing with the combination of chemical processes is called biochemistry. Then environmental chemistry is nothing but um, this environmental chemistry processes occurring in the environment and the effects of human activities on these processes. Example, groundwater, environmental chemistry. And what are the pollutants and perfluoropolyalkylenes, PFAS, and the contaminants are presented in the how it is affecting if certain for human body zinc is needed. If you cross the limit of 15 or 10% of zinc, it harms the body. So it affects of human activities on this process. Then industrial chemistry, if you see this, it is a branch that applies chemical process to the manufacturing of products on a large scale. See, industries are releasing wastewater having so many pollutants, it harms the society, it spoils the groundwater, etc. Theoretical chemistry, it uses mathematical models. Model is nothing but simplified version of the reality and simulations to understand chemical behavior and predict chemical phenomena. That is called theoretical chemistry. If you see the periodic table, it contains a number of rows and number of columns. So number of rows we can call it as rows are called periods and columns are called groups or families. So here in this table 118 elements are there. So group 1 to group 8 elements, and below lanthanide series and actinide series. So in this table we usually classified into rows and columns. Rows are also called as a periods and columns are also called as groups or families. If you see the group 1 elements to group 8 elements. So in group 1 we can call it as a non-metal elements like hydrogen. Remaining all elements are metal elements. So it classified into 4 types. S block elements are spherical type, F block elements are dumbbell shape, and D block elements are double dumbbell, and D block is a P block is a dumbbell, D block is double dumbbell, F block is more complex. So these elements, 8th group elements are also called as noble gases or inert gases. Then coming to the lanthanides, starts with 57 and ends with 70, and anthonides 87 to 102. So these rows are called columns are all, rows are called periods, and columns are also called as families or groups. So how easily you can remember the chemistry subject? We are classifying into 3 types, like group elements are called columns, periods we can call it as a rows. Elements in the same group have similar behavior, means similar characteristics. So periods, elements in same period having increasing atomic numbers. So these blocks are elements into S, P, D, F, spherical, dumbbell, double dumbbell, and more complex shapes. So these are the block based on electron configuration. So these are the how easily we can remember these 4 groups elements. Group 1 we can call it as alkali metals, and group 2 elements we can call it as alkaline metals and earth metals plus hydrogen and helium in S block elements. In P block elements, group 13 to 18 including non-metals, metalloids and some metals. Then this is called as dumbbell shape. D block elements are also called as transition metals. Group 13 to 12, group 3 to 12, F block elements are more complex. These are called lanthanides and anthonides. Then how easily you can remember the mnemonics? Mnemonics, M silent. Mnemonics means the scientific form of each element. So mnemonic devices to remember the elements in important groups. Like group 1 elements, how easily you can remember, that is called alkali metals. Linaka RUPS CSS feet. So this is the short form of how to remember group 1 elements. Lina K RUPS CS feet. That means lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium and cesium, francium. So lithium Li, sodium Na, potassium K, rubidium Rb, cesium Cs, francium Fr. Group 17 elements are also called as a halogens. So freaky clones brought ice apples. This is the short form of group 17 elements and halogens. So here fluorine F, chlorine Cl, bromine Br, iodine I, acetine AT. So based on the color representation, how easily you can remember, listen, how easily you can remember the elements in the periodic table. So far 118 elements are identified. Use a color coded periodic table to identify different elements categories like metals, non-metals, noble gases, transition metals. These all elements you can see in the real time environment how effectively we are utilizing. If it crosses the limit, how it is harming for the human being. Colors helps in visualizing grouping elements and enhancing memory retention. Then group similar elements like that have similar properties, characteristics such as noble gases. It is also called as inert gases like helium, neon, arsenic, etc. Argon. Transition metals known for forming a colorful compounds and and how easily you can remember 118 elements based on the memorizing. Daily you have to read the elements. Understand the trends like atomic radius, ionization energy, electronegativity, etc. It makes recognizing elements positions very easily. As you have across a period or down a group, these trends are predictable. We can predict very easily. And how easily you can remember these elements and names: sodium Na, potassium K, like that. So what is the chemical law? See, what is the in chemistry laughing gas and how it is used in the society. So laughing gas or nitrous oxide N2O is used as an anesthetic in dentistry. Suppose if you are doing a dental surgery, so it gives so much pain. To reduce that pain and no senses by using nitrous oxide N2O, and surgery due to its sedative and pain relieving property. That's why laughing gas having that much importance. What gases are commonly used for cooking gas? That is called kitchen gas. And why are they safe to use? That is called LPG. LPG is nothing but liquefied petroleum gas. So mainly composed of propane. The formula propane is C3H8, and butane we are using cooking gas as a C4H10. That is called cooking gas. Keep these formulas in your mind. It is used for cooking because it burns cleanly, producing minimal pollutants when used safely. That's why cooking gas having that much importance. What are PFAS and why are they considered harmful to the environment? Because one of the type we are studying in chemistry, environmental chemistry. It deals with the society, environmental related activities. PFAS is nothing but per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, that is called pollutants or persistent environmental pollutants that accumulate in water, soil and human bodies, causing potential health risks like cancer. Why people are getting cancer and immune dysfunction? Because of too much PFAS, groundwater, soil and plastics we are using. That's why it causes the one there IIT syllabus. I'm recording అన్నీ ఉన్నాయి. Causing potential health risks like cancer and immune dysfunction. Then what are the elements? We can call it as a periodic table that poses risks to human health. So what are the toxic elements? You need to know why we are studying chemistry in real life. So toxic elements like lead is a toxic element, mercury and Hg, cadmium Cd and arsenic As, and harmful because they can use neurological problems, kidney problems, heart, cardiovascular damage when ingested or inhaled. We are breathing so many harmful gases. So that's why these toxic elements you need to remember. Then which elements are considered non-toxic and are commonly found in everyday life? So elements like carbon, C, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen are non-toxic and form the basis of organic life and are found in water, air and most living organisms. That is called non-toxic elements. How do greenhouse gases contribute to the climate change? So greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane CH4 and water vapor H2O trap heat in the earth's atmosphere, leading to global warming and climate change problem. That's why we require greenhouse gases contribute to more climate changes. That's why the seasons and periods, everything changes in the environmental life. So what are the contaminants are found in the drinking water and how do they affect health? So contaminants like arsenic, lead, nitrate in drinking water can cause serious health issues like including cancer disease, developmental disorders and gastrointestinal problems. Okay, so these are the contaminants we can find in the drinking water. Why is carbon monoxide considering a dangerous gas in homes and workplaces? Carbon monoxide, usually vehicles releases carbon monoxide. Okay, it is a colorless and odorless and highly toxic as it binds to hemoglobin more effectively than oxygen, leading to carbon monoxide poisoning and potential fatalities. Then what are the main toxic gases released during industrial processes and how they are controlled? Toxic gases like sulfur dioxide SO2 and carbon monoxide CO and nitrogen oxides like NOx are released during industrial processes and their emissions are controlled through scrubbers, filters and regulations. Then how do fertilizers contain nitrates and what is their chemical impact? Fertilizers contain, see we are farmers, they are using number of fertilizers for farming cultivation. It contains nitrates like NO3 minus and phosphate like PO4 and 3 minus that when overused lead to water contamination and eutrophication causing dead zones in aquatic ecosystems. That's why we need to be careful while using this number of fertilizers in human life. How does understanding the periodic table in predicting elements behavior? How they have created a table depends on each element behavior, that behavior set in the group elements. The periodic table allows us to predict the chemical properties or characteristics and the reactivity of elements based on their group and period, trends like electronegativity, ionization energy and atomic radius. Why is the mole concept critical in chemical reactions? Because based on the atomic number and atomic radius, we are calculating their the properties of that each element and where the element can fit in the periodic table. The mole concept provides a bridge between atomic scale reactions and measurable quantities, allowing accurate calculations of reactants and products in a chemical reactions. Then how does this second law of thermodynamics impact energy efficiency in real world systems? The second law of thermodynamics states that energy tends to disperse, making perfect energy conversion impossible, which impact the efficiency of engines, batteries and other systems. So there we are using thermodynamics second law. What role does the chemical bonding play in determining the physical properties of a substances? The type of chemical bonding like ionic bond, covalent bond, metallic determines a substance's melting point and solubility, conductivity and hardness, influencing its applications in everyday materials. That's why it is playing these properties of substances bondings. Then why why is the understanding of redox reactions essential in environmental chemistry? Redox reactions are crucial in environmental processes like water purification, corrosion, and breakdown of pollutants, helping to solve key ecological challenges. Even in our house, we are using water filter. It blocks all the PFAS, means pollutants, and purification of water. The good water is coming one side and bad water is coming. That bad water containing contaminants, PFAS, and it solves the ecological challenges. Then how does this catalyst lower the rates without being consumed? Catalyst lower the activation energy of reaction, allowing is to proceed faster while remaining unchanged at the end of the reaction, making them essential in industrial process. That's why we are adding the catalyst. Then what is the significance of buffer solutions in maintaining pH levels in a biological system? So buffer solutions resist changes in pH, ensuring the stability of biological processes in the body, in human body, such as enzyme activity, how our metabolism and enzyme activity and cellular function all depends on our pH levels in biological system. How is the concept of equilibrium applied in the industrial chemical process? Understanding chemical equilibrium allows industries to optimize conditions like pressure, temperature, and catalyst to maximize product yield, such as in ammonia production via the Haber process. That's why this equilibrium applied in industrial chemistry process. Then why are the transition metals? Transition metals are catalysis and material science. How we are using transition metals? Due to their variable oxidation, means changing. Variable oxidation means changing states, and ability to form complex compounds play a critical role in catalysis and the development of strong durable materials. So that's why these transition metals are playing vital role. How does the study of organic chemistry contribute to the pharmaceutical industry or a healthcare industry? So organic chemistry is essential for designing and synthesizing drugs. Especially we are designing drugs with the combination of carbon, understanding biochemical pathways, and developing new treatments for diseases impacting global healthcare significantly. So there we are using this organic chemistry. Then what is Dalton's atomic theory, and why is it fundamental in chemistry? So Dalton's atomic theory proposes that atoms are indivisible and carbine to form compounds, laying the foundation for modern chemistry. Then the photoelectric effect. How does this photoelectric effect support the particle nature of light? So photoelectric effect shows that light consists of particles like photons, so which can eject electrons from a metal surface when striking it. So that's why photoelectric effect is very important. What is the significance of Fazan's rule in predicting a bond character? We have a chemical bond, ionic bond. Okay, so there are various types of bonding system is there. Fazan's rule helps predict whether a bond will be more ionic or covalent based on the size and the charge of the ions involved. That is called Fazan's rule. How does the first law of thermodynamics apply to energy conservation in chemical reactions? The first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created. See, this definition is very, very important. The first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created or destroyed. That is the matter definition given by the Antoine Lavoisier. He is the father of chemistry. Only transformed, ensuring energy balance in reactions. Then why is Raoult's law explains and understanding the behavior of solutions. So Raoult's law explains how the vapor pressure of a solution changes based on the concentration of a solute, essential for understanding colligative properties. That is called Raoult's law. What role do catalysis plays in chemical reactions according to chemical kinetics? So catalyst will increase the reaction speed. Catalyst lower the activation energy of reaction, speeding up the process without being consumed. That's why we are using catalyst. How does the periodic trend of electronegativity affect bond formation? So electronegativity differences between elements determine whether a bond will be ionic or covalent, affecting the properties of the compound. Then what is the coordination compounds? Reaction compounds in a biological system. Coordination compounds such as hemoglobin are crucial for biological process like oxygen transport in the blood. So in that case, this hemoglobin playing crucial for a biological process. How do colligate properties like boiling point, elevation help determine molecular masses? So colligative properties depends on the number of particles in a solution, and measuring changes like boiling point, elevation helps calculate molecular masses. In that case, we are using this boiling point elevation. Why is the Nernst equation crucial in electrochemistry? Nernst is a scientist. He has given the beautiful definition about the Nernst equation. It relates cell potential to ion concentration, helping calculate the voltage of electrochemical cells in various conditions. Then what is matter and how it is useful for the society? Matter is anything. Anything is a matter that occupies space and has mass, existing in three stages: solid state, liquid state and gas state. What is Dalton's atomic theory? Dalton's atomic theory proposes that all matter is made up of indivisible atoms which combine to form molecules and compounds. What is the mole concept in chemistry? The mole concept defines a mole as the amount of substance that contains the same number of particles as there are atoms in 12 grams of carbon. So what is the carbon atomic number? 12. So which is approximately 6.022 multiplied by 10 power 23 particles. So that is called Avogadro number, 6.022 multiplied by 10 power 23. Then what is the law of chemical combination? So the law of chemical combination includes the law of conservation of mass, definite proportions and multiple proportions governing how substances combine to form compounds. So what is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle? The Heisenberg uncertainty principle states that it is impossible to simultaneously know both the exact position and the momentum of an electron. That's why we can call it as a Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So it is impossible to simultaneously know at a time both the exact position and the momentum of an electron. What is the significance of molecular orbital theory? Molecular orbital theory explains how atomic orbitals combine to form molecular orbitals, which describes bonding, anti-bonding interactions and the overall electronic structure of molecules. Then how does this second law of thermodynamics apply to the chemical reaction? The second law of thermodynamics states that the entropy means disorder. Entropy is nothing but disorder of an isolated system always increases in a spontaneous process governing the direction of chemical reactions. So there we are applying the second law of thermodynamics. What is the Raoult's law in solutions? Raoult's law states that the vapor pressure of a solvent in a solution decreases in proportion to the mole fraction of solute particles added to it. What is the Lee-Chatterley's principle in equilibrium? Lee-Chatterley's principle predicts that when a system at equilibrium is disturbed, it will shift in the direction that minimizes the disturbance to the restore equilibrium. For that purpose, we are using Lee-Chatterley's principle. Then what is the Nernst equation? used for an electrochemistry. Nernst equation relates the cell potential of an electrochemical cell to the concentration of the reacting ions, allowing for the calculation of cell voltage under non-standard conditions. What is the significance of half-life in chemical kinetics? The half-life of a reaction is the time required for half of the reactants to be converted into products, crucial for understanding reaction rates and mechanisms. What is the lanthanide contraction and why is it important? The lanthanide contraction refers to the gradual decrease in the atomic and ionic radii of the lanthanides, affecting the properties of subsequent element in the periodic table. Then what is the Cannizzaro reaction and how it is useful for the in this chemistry? The Cannizzaro reaction involves the base included and disproportionation of aldehydes lacking alpha hydrogen atoms and producing an alcohol and carboxylate salt. What is the significance of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle? I have already explained. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle states that it is impossible to precisely measure both the position and the momentum of an electron simultaneously. So, meaning that more accurately one is known, the less accurately the other can be determined. How does the valence shell electron pair repulsion, that is VSE PR theory, helps in predicting molecular shapes? The VSE PR, that is valence shell electron pair repulsion, predicts the shape of molecules by assuming that electron pairs around a central atom will arrange themselves to minimize repulsion, resulting in specific molecular geometries like linear and trigonal, planar and tetrahedral. So with this one the complete importance of chemistry concepts is completed. In unit 1 some basic concepts in chemistry. What is the nature of matter? Matter is anything that occupies space and has mass, existing in solid, liquid or gas states. After completion of this one, what is Dalton's atomic theory? Dalton's atomic theory states that all matter is made up of indivisible atoms that combine to form compounds. What are the law of chemical combination? The laws of chemical combination, including the law of definite proportions, like govern how elements combine to form compounds. What is the mole concept? The mole concept defines a mole as a 6.022 multiplied by 10 power 23 particles, the number of atoms in 12 grams of carbon 2. What is stoichiometry in chemical equations? Stoichiometry involves calculating the quantities of reactants and products in chemical reaction using balanced equations. Then second unit is atomic structure. What is the photoelectric effect? The photoelectric effect is the emission of electrons from a metal surface when light strikes it. What is Bohr's model of the hydrogen atom? Bohr's model explains that electrons orbit the molecules in quantized energy levels, emitting or absorbing energy when transitioning between the levels. What is de Broglie's relationship? De Broglie's relationship states that matter has both wave-like and particle-like properties described by wavelength is equal to h by mv. What is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle? So Heisenberg uncertainty principle asserts that it's impossible to simultaneously know both the exact position and momentum of an electron. What is the Aufbau principle in electronic configuration? The Aufbau principle states that electrons fill the lowest available energy orbitals first before filling the higher ones. Next, third one is a chemical bonding and molecular structure. What is ionic bonding? Ionic bonding occurs when electrons are transferred between atoms, creating oppositely charged ions that attract each other. What is covalent bonding? Covalent bonding involves the sharing of electrons between atoms to achieve a stable electron configuration. What is the valence cell electron pair repulsion? That is VSEPR theory. VSEPR theory predicts the shape of molecules based on repulsion between electron pairs in the valence shell. What is the concept of a hybridization? Hybridization is the mixing of atomic orbitals to form new hybrid orbitals that explains molecular shapes and bonding. What is hydrogen bonding? Hydrogen bonding is a strong intermolecular force where hydrogen is attracted to highly electronegative atoms like oxygen or nitrogen. Then fourth chapter is chemical thermodynamics. What is the first law of thermodynamics? The first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created or nor destroyed, only transferred or converted. That is called first law of thermodynamics. What is the entropy in thermodynamics? Entropy means disorder. Entropy measures the disorder or randomness in a system increasing in a spontaneous process is called entropy in thermodynamics. What is Gibbs free energy? Gibbs is a scientist has given that name of that Gibbs free energy determines the spontaneity of processes where a negative, that is delta G, indicates a spontaneous reaction. What is Hess law? Hess law states that the total enthalpy change of a reaction is the same regardless of the pathway taken. What is the second law of thermodynamics? The second law of thermodynamics states that the entropy an isolated system always increases in a spontaneous process. Then fifth unit is solutions. What is molality? Molality is the concentration of a solution expressed as the number of moles of solute per kilogram of solvent. That is called molality. What are colligative properties? Colligative properties depends on the number of solute particles in a solution affecting boiling point, freezing point and osmotic pressure. That is called colligative properties. What is Raoult's law? Raoult's law states that the vapor pressure of a solvent in a solution decreases, the mole fraction of the solute increases. What is the Van't Hoff factor? The Van't Hoff factor accounts for the effect of solute ionization on colligative properties. Then the sixth one is equilibrium. What is dynamic equilibrium? Dynamic equilibrium occurs when the rates of the forward and reverse reactions are equal. Forward and reverse reactions are equal with no net change in reactant or product concentration. That is called a dynamic equilibrium. What is Lee-Chatterley's principle? This principle states that a system at equilibrium will shift, counterattack a disturbance in concentration, pressure and temperature. So that principle is called a Lee-Chatterley's principle. What is the common ion effect? The common ion effect refers to the decreases in solubility of a compound when a solution already contains one of its ions. That is called a common ion effect. What is buffer solution? Buffer solution resists changes in pH when small amounts of acid or base are added, maintaining a stable pH. That is called a buffer solution. Then redox reactions in electrochemistry. What is oxidation? Oxidation is the loss of electrons during chemical reaction. That is called oxidation. Keep in mind. What is reduction? Reduction is the gain of electrons during a chemical reaction. What is an electrochemical cell? An electrochemical cell converts chemical energy into electrical energy through redox reaction. What is Kohl's law? Kohl's law states that the limiting molar conductivity of an electrolyte is the sum of the individual contributions of its ions. Then what is a chemical reaction? The rate of a chemical reaction is the change in concentration of reactants or products per unit time. What is the Arrhenius equation? The Arrhenius equation describes how reaction rates increase with temperature, relating the rate constant to activation energy and temperature. Then what is activation energy? Activation energy is the minimum energy required for reactants to undergo a chemical reaction. Then classification of elements and periodicity in properties. What is the modern periodic law? The modern periodic law states that the properties of elements are periodic functions of their atomic numbers. Based on that one, we are classifying elements and periodicity in properties. What is the ionization enthalpy? Ionization enthalpy is the energy required to remove an electron from an atom in its gaseous state. That is called ionization enthalpy. Then unit 10, p block elements. What are the general trends in p block elements? P block element shows trends in electronegativity, ionization energy and reactivity across periods and groups. Okay, so then 11th unit 11 D and transition elements. So D block elements are also called as transition elements, characterized by variable means changing oxidation states, colored compounds and catalytic activity. Then coordination compounds is nothing but what is coordination compound? A coordination compound consists of a central metal atom or ion bonded to surrounding lights and forming complex ions.
Ligands.
Then organic chemistry. This is called purification and characterization of organic compounds. What is chromatography? Chromatography is a separation technique that separates compounds based on their movement through a stationary phase. That is called chromatography. Some basic principles of organic chemistry. What is the inductive effect? The inductive effect is the shifting of electron density along a chain of atoms in response to an electronegative atom or group. What is resonance in organic chemistry? Resonance involves the delocalization of electrons across multiple atoms, stabilizing the molecule. That is called resonance in organic chemistry. Then what is meant by hybridization? What is geometrical isomerism in alkenes? So geometrical isomerism occurs when alkenes have different spatial arrangements of groups around a double bond like CIS and cis and trans forms. Organic compounds containing halogens. So what are the environmental effects of DDT and free ions? DDT is nothing but dichloro diphenyl trichloroethane. So is a toxic to wildlife, while freons contributes to ozone layer depletion. That is called DDT and free ions. Then what are the compounds containing oxygen? What is the Reamer-Tiemann reaction? And the Reamer and Tiemann reaction forms phenolic aldehydes by reacting phenols and with chloroform in the presence of a base. Then what are the organic compounds containing nitrogen? What are diazonium salt? Diazonium salts are organic compounds used in the synthesis of dyes, okay, involving nitrogen cations and bound to an aryl or alkyl groups. Then biomolecular. What are carbohydrates? Carbohydrates, while eating with food we are getting carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are organic molecules composed of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, serving as energy sources and structural compounds. That is called biomolecules. Then principles related to practical chemistry. So what is more salt? More salts is a double salt of ferrous sulfate and ammonium sulfate used in redox reactions. What is the principle behind the enthalpy of a neutralization? So the enthalpy of neutralization is the heat change that occurs when an acid and base react to form water, typically releasing energy as a heat in an exothermic reactions. So with this one I am closing the theory part. What is the principle behind the enthalpy? So what is more salt? More salt is a double salt of ferrous sulfate and ammonium sulfate used in redox titration. What is the principle behind the enthalpy of neutralization? The enthalpy of neutralization is the heat change that occurs when an acid and a base react to form water, typically releasing energy heat in an exothermic. Now you can explain from this point. Nana, you explain.